Do you have a sales funnel? Are you sick of your sales funnel? Does your sales funnel have you on the hamster wheel of getting ready to burn out, throw in the towel, shut down your business? Because, oh my goodness, if you have to keep feeding your sales funnel and you have to keep creating and attracting, you're going to lose your ever-loving mind. Today, I want to talk about how to use a podcast in a soulful way to build out a funnel that magnetizes your clients to you so that you can have a massively profitable business without the burnout of the hamster wheel. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the podcast about podcasting, where you guessed it, we're talking all things podcasting. Whether you are just ready to launch your show, or maybe you're a seasoned podcaster ready to grow and monetize, this podcast is for you. We are talking about the strategy, but beyond that, the mindset it takes to grow a massively successful podcast in this day and age. So if you are ready to take your podcast to the next level and make big bucks, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Jennifer Dragonette, so let's dig in. Soulful podcast funnel. Why a soulful podcast funnel? What are we actually talking about here? What is a sales funnel? I'd love to know, what do you believe a sales funnel is? For me, when I used to hear sales funnel, I was like, oh my gosh, if I have to live in another masculine strategy of this is how it goes through here, if I'm going to funnel here and then I've got to do this and I've got to automate that and I've got to work, give, and you're constantly in that mode, it really led me to burnout. But a sales funnel is really a journey. When I changed the word funnel to journey, I was like, holy crap, I'm taking someone on a journey. So yes, this is the Soulful podcast funnel because it is a funnel, but we're going on a journey here, an actual journey. And I want to share with you two different ways to build, one where you have a social media presence, more of a social media presence, and one without. So let's just do the thing, right? It's about taking your listener on a journey from stranger danger, to trust, connect, inspire, to a paying client. That's basically what a sales funnel is, right? It's the steps of getting people into your space, sharing your magic, giving and pouring into these people. They're starting to trust you. You're still helping them along. You're still helping them the first few steps of their journey. And then they're like, oh, you've helped me along so much. You've given so much. I am ready to go with you on the full journey. So that's really what the funnel is about. All right. Podcast listener is my jam. Yes, you see me on social media because I love to build community. I've built a community based around my podcast. A lot of people inside my community, all of my paying clients have been in my podcast journey somewhere. They've either been on my podcast or been referred someone to me from my podcast. How do you get podcast listeners? This is about positioning, collaborations, strategy, connection. There's paid collab groups, and what I like to call the podcast dating apps. I don't have any social media in there. I've positioned it with SEO. I've collaborated with other podcasters. I've created a strategy for connections. I'm inside some paid collab groups, and I'm on some podcast dating apps, which a lot of them are free. I am not on social media yet, right? So then I go to the podcast listener. And one of the things you've probably noticed in my communities is that I don't really share with you my episodes. I just don't do it because inside the community, we're already further along in the process. I've already built this trust. Granted, if you want to go check out my podcasts, great. Or if you want to go check out my communities, great. But we're in the CTA of podcast right now. Because I want you to think about your podcasts. I want you to think about your podcast listeners. When people have come through this, gone into this podcast listener, you get to share with them a CTA. You can sell from your podcast. However, what I have found the best way is for a few different CTAs, but only use one. We don't want to confuse people. Now we've gotten them, they're listening, they're starting to trust us. So what do? You have two choices here. One is social media, a way to connect. I use Instagram because saying your Instagram handle is way easier than trying to direct someone to a Facebook group. Letting them connect with me on my DMs or see my strategy there. A lot of my content that you see is a repurposed content. You get the majority of my deep dive conversations inside of my private Facebook group because I'm going deeper there. But on my other profile, my Instagram, it's a lot of repurposed content, which is still valuable, but it's not that deep connection. If you don't want to connect them with social media, you want to say, hey, I still want to get to know you. I just don't want to put you in a social media container. Great, create a freebie. You can do a live or recorded event. You can give them the next step, whether that's a PDF, a tapping, a training, a meditation. Give them something free. And you know what this does? It adds them to your email list. And then you want to start collaborations. At this point in the journey, once you have your listeners, start collabing with people that have your ideal client inside their audience. We're going down this. Again, we've gone to social media. So now if you can get them into a community, like a Facebook community, utilize those 3 questions. Get their email. But remember, when you're getting their email, you must put in your terms. You must say, hey, you're subscribing to my email list for them to give it to you. Screenshot that to protect yourself because there are rules and regulations out this. But see, we skipped this step without social. We went right to this freebie where we're collecting emails, right? We've skipped this step completely, but we're still connecting with them. And these emails need to be a 4-to-1 ratio, meaning every 4 emails that you send, only one of them should have a CTA that is for something paid or next level. You can put join my community, listen to a podcast episode, but don't ask them to go so deep of like book a sales call, all of those things. 4-to-1. 4-to-1 is what's been working. Again, we're working on the email list. Next, again, you're taking a little bit slower path when you're working on social media. You've got them on, let's say, your Instagram account. You've connected with them via email. Now you got to get them into a community where you can keep feeding them information. You can share with them your podcast. You can, let's say your podcast comes out. This email list can be a highlight of the podcast, action steps from the podcast. Because if you're doing podcasting right up in the strategy section, you're actually giving them content that's actionable. Let's take these actions to move forward. It's not just like sometimes we have storytelling, sometimes we have education, sometimes we have entertainment. But if you're giving your clients something to walk away with, a reason to stay that's helping them move themselves forward in whatever journey you help them with, that's where you're building the trust because you're giving them free content that's actually moving the needle forward. So get them into a community. You're already on social media. Get them into a community. Maybe at this point, you've gotten them through and you're like, oh, I want to do a discovery call. I hate calling them discovery calls. Everybody thinks they're sales calls. Call them something else. But actually have them get in and have a conversation with you. You can put a low ticket CTA inside of this at this point, or you can invite them if you've decided to add a community. So you're not getting them onto your social media account until you've gotten to here. This is the strategy that I'm starting to use more often. You will see me on social media rarely, or you will see me there because all my ideal clients are there. So I have to show up where my clients are. But this is the majority of my strategy is using these kind of collaborations, positioning, getting them into being a listener, giving them a freebie. My freebie right now is a 3-day event inside my Facebook community. So that puts them on my email list and gets them into my community. From that freebie, we are going into discovery calls. I'm offering low ticket offers. That's why podcasting for your soul, my mastermind, starts with a low ticket offer, because once you get this to a funnel and to a flow, people will come in and say freebie. Oh, this is great. You're connecting with them and all of a sudden you offer them a low ticket offer that has 0 hands-on for you. Maybe it's a mini course or something. They're willing to buy. You know what that means? You recorded an episode and you let it do the work for you. You went in, you positioned it correctly, you recorded, your listener found you, signed up for your freebie, got onto your email list that's automated by this point. Your 1-in-4 ratio, your fourth ratio was your low ticket offer. Low ticket offers, people are more likely to hand over their credit card because they're like, what do I have to lose? It's a couple $100. And then you start building trust for when you're ready to do more. So if you want the community, you want to start having the conversations, but you can actually flow this through to a low ticket offer pretty consistently. This is what I'm doing with a low ticket offer in my back end right now, is pretty consistently you can flow that through. And then it leads into your discovery calls. You can interview requests. You can invite to a low ticket. So if you want to actually have a conversation with people, this is where you do it. And this is where you start earning that money. But as you can see, sometimes having the social media strategy where you're spending a bunch of time on social media isn't the ideal situation. What I really want you to think about is, hey, okay, where do I like to show up? I love being in my Facebook community. I really do. And I like being on Instagram and spending 20 minutes a day going out and finding people that I can connect with, that I can bring into my world without being a skeezy salesperson, which is, again, something I teach inside the mastermind program. But this is what I love. I have one podcast that I've just launched that I don't share with other people. I don't share on social media at all. And I am trying this strategy where you're going from listener to freebie to email to an actual offer of getting into a discovery call or a low ticket offer. I am using that strategy and it is working so well that if you're in my space, you know that it's not showing up on social media because I'm not sharing about it on social media. This works. It's becoming a passive income structure for me. Is it completely passive? No, because I have to record a podcast episode each week. But because I've positioned it right, because I've got the right collaboration and the right strategy, and I've used this in a way, this is building right now without having to use social media. So it can be done. Am I saying that it's always the easiest way? No, if you've already spent time building on social media, use social media, but make sure you're really taking them on an actual journey, because again, it's about connecting with other humans. It's connecting, it's doing the next step, it's going a little bit deeper, it's being a little bit stronger, it's showing them and showing up. And that's what it's truly about. That's where the magic happens. But you have to find that strategy that works for you. That strategy that brings someone to the next level. If you are sick of spinning your wheels and feeding the content monster, as one of my mentors, Tiffany Carter, says of Project Me with Tiffany, she says, constantly feeding the content monster. If you're feeling like you're spinning and you're stuck on that hamster wheel, this might be a great strategy for you. This may be your next step. This might be the thing that is like, oh yeah, I love to talk. I love to connect with people. Podcasts are more than just you sharing your information. There's a way to do it. There really is a way to properly position your podcast. There's a strategy behind it, which is really hard for a soul-aligned spiritual entrepreneur, right? Because we talk from our hearts. But talking from our hearts is where the magic happens. And if you talk from your heart and tweak it just a hair and add some of that strategy, you can convert from your podcast. You can move forward and be like, okay, I have a podcast. It's feeding itself, just like my new podcast is. It is constantly feeding itself because I am not sharing it on social media. And it's growing. It's actually growing faster than my podcast that I share on social media because I'm using a different strategy. And no, I'm not using paid ads. It's 100% organic, and I'm using 100% organic strategy for it. And it's pretty freaking magical. I have been able to step back more. Last week I had my niece and my nephew. I call them my munchkins, my my little buddies. I had the two of them, and I got to spend 5 days with them, where all I had to do was work on my production clients because my podcast was feeding my business. I still got new clients into my courses. I still got 3 on the books discovery calls, and I didn't have to do any of the crazy reach outs and stuff. This week, I'm back to my 20 minutes a day on Instagram. You can do a lot in 20 minutes a day, but you've got to funnel them to something that actually can build and to grow. And I don't know about you, but when have you listened to a podcast off of a social media app? If you're in a podcast player app and you're in listening mood, what are you doing? You open up the podcast app and you search for something there. There's a strategy behind that. There's a strategy behind naming your episodes, naming your show description. There's a strategy behind that. And even for a soulful, soul-aligned, spirit-led entrepreneur, you have to use that strategy if you want it to grow. Yes, I do believe divine timing and the universe reciprocating. But why not give it a little bit of help? Why just wait when you can do a little bit of strategy, where you can still speak from your heart, but you do a little bit of strategy on the back end? And that's the podcast funnel. That's where the magic happens. That's the things that are going to make the world go round. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So if you have any questions about the podcast funnel, if podcasting funnels are for you, you can find me over, let's see, where do I want to send you today? You can find me over on Instagram at j.dragonette. That's JDRAGONETTE, which the links will be in the show notes. And I hope to see you over there. I really want you to stop having to feed the content monster where you have to show up all these times. You have to spend hours creating reels. You have to do all this reach out. Let's find you a strategy that can be an evergreen funnel if you use the positioning and strategies from the beginning. Sound like a deal? And if you're really excited about this wonderful thing, let's connect, because I have a 3-day event coming up that's free that'll actually you will walk away with a 30-day strategy for free of how to move your needle forward in your business. So I am so excited for you, and I will talk to you soon. So make today amazing, because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are enough, and your voice deserves a microphone. You deserve to be more than a ripple. So stand up and be the tsunami I know you're made for. I'll see you next week.